Hey everybody, Tony D with a Hollywood hot take. I guess this is Hollywood hot take because it's about, I guess her name is Ghislaine Maxwell. Is that how you pronounce it? Ghislaine, Ghislaine, Ghislaine Maxwell? Is that how you say it? I don't know. Anyhow, she was Jeffrey Epstein's sidekick. And if you don't know who Jeffrey Epstein is, well, you got a lot of Googling to do. Um, so she was apparently the female in the crew that would help recruit the girls, right? Because, that puts the guard down of the women because they think, oh, nothing's going to happen to me. There's another woman here. So if she says Epstein's cool, then he must be cool, and I'll just follow her lead, right? Nothing weird's going to happen to me. Ooh. Apparently, she sold these young girls down the river, and what I read and seen videos about, you should check out, by the way, We Are Change, because they've done a ton of videos on this subject. But she would get these girls in as masseuse, so they're already touching the clients, and then it sort of escalates from there. And the whole Epstein's Island thing seems to have been some sort of massive blackmail scheme where he would have cameras everywhere. So, these rich and famous people would come to his island and they would end up messing around with these underage girls, and then he could get it on video, and then they were in his pocket, essentially. Essentially, he could blackmail them, and I think that's probably the case with Andrew, Prince Andrew, because, why would he keep defending this guy? He kept defending this guy, even Epstein, even after he got convicted and was considered a sex offender. And he actually went to one of his houses. So, but the I don't know what you'd call it, the rumor, I guess, or the theory is that Epstein was running sort of this blackmail scheme, and that's how he made his billions, because no one is quite sure what hedge fund he used to run, and they can't really find anybody who used to have like dealings with him. So really he lived like a hedge fund guy, but maybe all his proceeds were coming from these various victims who were high end. Now, then there's the bigger rumor, which is that he was not only blackmailing people, but he was doing it on behalf of various governments for their intelligence, right? So you get some big wig industrialist or politician that you need information from. Epstein blackmails them, and next thing you know, Epstein can get anything he wants from this guy. Or you could just tell him, do X, Y, and Z, or I'm going to expose you for what you did, and your life's going to be over. You're going to go to jail, you're going to lose all your money. And, there are a ton of people connected to this. Now, the question is, why is this coming out now? Like, Ghislaine Maxwell seemed to skate after Epstein killed himself, and there were some pictures of her, but they were like photoshopped, and they seemed to be fake. But then she seemed to skip out and go into hiding for a while. And why didn't they pick her up relatively or right when they picked up Epstein? Like, if Epstein's guilty, certainly his second in command's got to be guilty of something. Or was the kind of thing like after he died, then they were kind of hoping it would all go away? Or was it that the entire investigation got disrupted because Epstein was dead, and then they figured they could use him to leverage, info on her, but now that he's dead, they had to completely change their strategy? I don't know. But one of the prosecutors was fired by Barr. And then the theory is, well, did Barr fire him because he's trying to protect famous people, or did Barr fire him because that guy is the guy who helped Epstein have an accident in his jail cell, or was destroying evidence? Because the thing is, Bill Clinton was on the Lolita Express, which was the name of his plane, and he was on a bunch of times. Now, that may or may not mean anything, because legend has it that the Clintons were so cheap, but they didn't like to live cheap, so they would be happy to ride anybody's jet stream, Gulf jet stream, who would have them. So maybe it's just that they're cheap, not that Bill Clinton was screwing around. Maybe. But Trump also rode the plane one time. But the big difference is, Trump actually gave a statement to the cops when Epstein was, I guess when he was first charged. One of the times he was charged. I think he was charged multiple times. And no other person, of that level of fame stepped up to give a statement. I think it was only Trump. So that would indicate to me that Trump either knew something was up, or didn't like Epstein, or it was just, it's just a one-time thing. And then when the cops came, he was like, "Oh yeah, I never liked that guy." I mean, he may not have known anything, but the fact that he would even give a statement when all the other famous people who rode on this plane didn't, says something. Says that he's at least willing to do that. Or maybe he just throws people under the bus the moment they are radioactive like that. There was also a ruling in the case of, in terms of Epstein's papers and documents. A judge actually ordered some of those documents destroyed, not for any nefarious reasons apparently, but for legal technical reasons, which may in and of itself be nefarious. Not that it would completely destroy the evidence, but that it would destroy at least one legal team's access to part of it. So that's kind of suspicious. But, this thing has been going on forever. It's just been going on forever. I, for one, would like to see some justice for these girls that got exploited. They're far too young to be doing that kind of stuff. And I'd like to see, some of these big wigs get canceled. Certainly Prince Andrew acts guilty as hell to me. I mean, he looked terrible in that interview. Now, that's not necessarily means he's guilty, but the evidence seems to be piling up against him. I mean, there's the picture. There's the fact that, he kept meeting with Epstein even after he got convicted. Like, the smart thing to do would have been to just cut him off, right? Just cut him off completely, because why would you hang out with a guy who is a convicted now sex offender? The answer could be that, well, guy had something on Andrew, so he couldn't totally cut him off. He was afraid to. He's too weak-willed to cut him off and just say, "Oh, I can't help you, buddy." Because then he could say, "Well, if you can't help me, I could trade you in and maybe get out of jail or whatever." I think it's probably something close to that. That would be my guess. And Maxwell, who's from a rich family herself, she's in the same danger Epstein's in, and they want somebody. I think the authorities look really bad, and now they want to convict somebody. They need a head for the pike to say, see, we do our jobs. We're not totally bungling and stupid. So I think they are going to convict her of something. I think they have to, and but whether or not she'll go to jail forever, well, it's a different story. So maybe they'll work something out, and she'll do like 5 years in a light penitentiary where she could do needlepoint and watch TV all day, and then everybody can say, "Oh, see, and then the evidence can quietly disappear. Um, do I think Clinton is one of these guys who had sex with underage girls? I don't know, man. I mean, Clinton, I can't see that happening. I guess I could see Epstein tricking him. I mean, because he did like younger girls. I mean, he went with Monica Lewinsky, right? So if he got one of the underage girls who looked older, maybe he did trick him. Maybe he did trick him, and then, he got him on tape, and it's like, oh, wow, I gotta help this guy now. But the other thinking is that no, the Clintons are just tied into the intelligence community, and they were using Epstein to blackmail important figures. So they're just sort of tied in together, and maybe the Clintons were visiting to help facilitate the exchange of intel. Who knows? Who knows? But in that world, it's like, for me, I look at it and I go, wow, it's just too complicated. I would, if I was that rich, I'd just be like, I got offered a jet and an island. I'd just be like, jet and an island? I don't want to hang out with you, dude. I don't even know who you are. I don't want to be on a plane, especially one of those little planes. They go down. Oh, you think a big plane might survive in the ocean a little while, at least the crash, so you could swim out or something. But one of those little planes, they just. I always think about that golfer and how the whole crew passed out and the plane just kept flying until it ran out of fuel and crashed. Yeah, that scenario. Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see if this Maxwell woman survives, because maybe the same thing. I mean, I think if that happened again, there'd be quite an outcry. Be quite an outcry indeed. I mean, you can't let that happen twice. And she may end up in the exact same prison that Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill himself. Yeah. So, weird. But we'll keep watching the skies, as they say. And check out that We Are Change video. If you just look up We Are Change, they got tons of videos on Epstein. They actually snuck onto his island and looked around, which is kind of a funny video if you haven't seen it. All right, we'll see you next time.